But yeah, obviously that's based on Starship Troopers. I found this video from Wisecrack, who actually did a very good recap on why Starship Troopers makes fascism sexy. This video is from 5 years ago. However, there is, as a leftist, surprise, there is this infatuation that we see from other people with fascism. Not only is it something that we see definitely ingrained in the right wing, but it also captures liberals, right? People that believe in the United States and believe in democracy and spreading democracy to other countries and showing that we're right by dropping peace bombs and whatnot on places. But that's something that Starship Troopers definitely exaggerated within their presentation of the movie. So yeah, let's see, how does Starship Troopers make fascism sexy? And also, in turn, how does Helldivers, really, which is a carbon copy of Starship Troopers, also make fascism sexy?
This video is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Learn more at expressvpn.com/wisecrack. What's up, Wisecrack? Jared here. Today we're exploring the film that beats out Doogie Howser MD for best Neil Patrick Harris appearance, Barney Stinson.
You don't approve.
Also, yes.
Well, too bad.
Paul Verhoeven's sci-fi cult classic, Starship Troopers. Based on the Robert Heinlein novel of the same name, Starship Troopers is weird, even for a movie about recent high school graduates fighting giant space bugs with big ol' machine guns.
Okay, hold on. Recent high school graduates? This sounds like the IDF.
Critics, scholars, and even fans had a tough time putting a neat label on it. When it first came out, audiences mostly took it at face value as a cheesy but enjoyable space romp. Since then, scholars have pointed out that the film offers a heaping helping of fascist imagery and ideology. While many critics bemoan the fact that the film's satire of militarism and fascism, obvious to them, was lost on the majority of initial viewers, others argue that a straightforward interpretation isn't necessarily wrong, that, at least in some respects, the movie can be viewed as earnestly pro-fascist. And the debate continues, for good reason. This movie is tough to pin down. But
I think it's been stated by the writer and director and whatnot that it was very much a satirical take on fascism. An over-the-top satirical take is what it was supposed to be intended as. But a lot of people have mistaken that for a pro-fascism take that says, yes, this is good. I would say to those people, it just kind of shows how much of a joke they are. Because when something is intended as a joke and you take it seriously, you become the joke. This is why I believe a lot of leftists love this movie, because it shows how much of a joke fascism and the right wing can be or are. And I think it's the same thing with Helldivers, and it's kind of the same thing with the IDF. I'm going to roll the IDF into this conversation because the IDF are a joke. They really are a joke of a military. There's this whole thing about them wearing diapers that's going around. But when you look at their videos of them fighting, they really you never see a video of them fighting anybody. You see them either like firing into fields or alleyways where nobody is, or just blowing up buildings in Gaza. Just kind of like very questionable behavior, especially when it comes to stealing lingerie from homes in Gaza. Kind of a joke, really, just kind of a joke overall, and very ideal to point and laugh at if it wasn't so real. And same thing here. Starship Troopers would be very fun. It is fun to point and laugh at, other than the fact that some people take this shit seriously, and it's kind of a problem.
times Verhoeven appears to be poking fun at the characters' gung-ho attitudes towards violence and authority, at other points, the movie reads like a straightforward military flick, even a propaganda piece. What Starship Troopers actually accomplishes is something far more subtle and potentially disturbing. So today we're going to explore what makes Starship Troopers one of the most surprisingly complex...
Where's his helmet, dude, by the way?
Welcome to this Wisecrack edition on Starship Troopers, sexy, sexy fascism. As always, spoilers for a sun-bleached VHS tape you passed 100 times in Blockbuster and always thought about renting but never quite got around to it before they went under, ahead. But first, a quick recap. In the near future, the world is run by the United Citizen Federation, which grants full citizenship and voting rights only to those who volunteer for military service.
I'm doing my part too.
Who don't serve remain civilians. Fresh out of high school, varsity athlete Johnny Rico defies his will
Johnny Rico
in federal service to earn citizenship.
I like him.
And to follow
'cause
his
he's
sweetheart
Johnny.
Carmen Ibanez, who dreams of being a Federation pilot. While his psychic friend Carl Jenkins tests into military intelligence, Johnny winds up in mobile infantry with Dizzy Flores, a former teammate who's had a crush on him for years. When an asteroid from the distant planet of Clendathu destroys Johnny's hometown of Buenos Aires, he enthusiastically takes part in the resulting war of extermination against the planet's bug-like inhabitants, the Arachnids. Growing into his new identity as a soldier citizen of the Federation, Johnny blasts his way through battle after battle and, with his surviving friends, winds up a high-ranking leader in the war effort. Starship Troopers is packed with references to the fascist ideologies of the 20th century. Now, on a superficial level, the film draws connections between these political movements and the United Citizen Federation with blatant visual cues. The Federation emblem, for instance, bears resemblance to the Nazi Reich.
I was gonna. Anytime there's an eagle, anytime there's an eagle that is framed that way, it seems very Nazi fascist.
Fleet, and in particular, games in theory, call to mind those worn by the various branches of the Wehrmacht. Never thought you'd see Neil Patrick Harris dressed as an SS officer, did you?
Be ready for more.
On a deeper level,
fills
the
the
ideology
role,
espoused by authority figures within the Federation shares key components with basic fascist political philosophy. If you listen closely, you'll notice that Johnny's mentors tend to be social Darwinists. They love to reduce the war between Earth and Clendathu to a competition between species, with the fitter race and society destined to control the galaxy. As his biology teacher puts it,
some manifest destiny kind of stuff in there. Got it.
Is superior in many ways. It reproduces in vast numbers, has no ego, has no fear, doesn't know about death, and so is the perfect selfless member of society.
By the way, that's Blanche Devereaux bemoaning the shortcomings of our species for all you Golden Girl fans out there.
Wait, what? Run that by me again?
Golden Girl fans.
Member of society.
By the way, that's Blanche Devereaux bemoaning the shortcomings of our species for all you Golden Girl
What?
fans out there. Just me? Whatever. Even Lieutenant Ratchak's battle cry brings it all back to survival of the fittest.
Come on, you hate! You want to live forever?
Of course, at the core of the Federation ideology is the belief that the right to exercise political power
Gotta
is
die
not
sometime, brother.
but earned through the willingness and ability to inflict violence onto others.
Something given has no value. But when you vote, you are exercising
Something given
political
has no
authority.
value.
You're using force. Force, my friends, is violence. The supreme authority from which all other authority is derived.
German fascists, inspired by the pro-military writings of World War I veterans such as Ernst Jünger, held a similar view. Jünger's Storm of Steel, a memoir about his formative experiences as a soldier during World War I, was one text in a massive wave of German literature from the time that valorized veterans above all other members of society, and portrayed war as a kick-ass way to develop as a man, have adventures, and experience
that's where it comes
friendship
from.
and camaraderie. In these books, the Western Front became less a waterlogged, rat-infested hellhole that ground up soldiers by the thousands in a vain attempt to further nationalist agendas, and more of a slick startup that buys you lunch and promises you hard, but means
Socialism.
In his analysis of Starship Troopers, historian Brian E. Krim points out that these novels emphasize the transformative experience of war and the inherent right of veterans to lead. Younger's personal odyssey mirrors Johnny Rico's journey from a clueless teenager to the new man the fascist movement revered. The fascist new man.
We're recreating the boy into a man with war. And we want to make him into a strong man, such as...
capable and emotionally hard human that Hitler, Mussolini, and other fascists hope to make the new societal norm, is able to deal out violence on behalf of the state without feelings of guilt or remorse.
Just kind of like how we're seeing right now with the IDF, where they have essentially no remorse or no thought about what they're doing.
Johnny and his friends either demonstrate this ability from the outset,
oh, come on, it's just a bug,
or develop it through their exposure to war. What's more, the Federation motivates its population to take part in the war by abandoning logic and appealing to passions and emotions, and in particular, a very specific variety of hatred. In other words, by taking a fascist approach to political persuasion. As historian Alexander de Grand notes, at its core, fascism is an appreciation of the irrational forces in modern society and a glorification of instinct and violence in political life. And such anti-intellectualism is a prominent part of
that's really what fascism breaks down into, right? Is just anti-intellectualism. Because you have to release or relieve yourself of the freedom of thought, and you have to adapt the thought process of fascism in order to be able to adapt and comply with the demands that fascism requires.
Mindset. When Mr. Rico insists that Johnny go to college rather than volunteer for military service, the film frames him as a fool worthy of his son's scorn, a coward standing in the way of his chance to serve.
You're going to Harvard, and that's the end of it.
Likewise, when any debate around the war effort is brought up, it's immediately shut down by sloganeering and emotional appeals.
Some say the bugs are provoked by the intrusion of humans into their natural habitat, that a live and let live policy is preferable to war with the bugs.
Let me tell you something. I'm from Buenos Aires, and I say kill them all!
The only
My God, this just sounds like real life. It does. It sounds like everything that we're seeing right now with the current attack on Gaza. If you watch videos of IDF soldiers, this is basically carbon copy of what they're saying in their videos.
Acceptable form of intelligence is functional intelligence applied in service of the state. For instance, Carmen's navigational abilities or Carl's studies of arachnid biology and behavior.
Here's a tip. Aim for the nerve stem and put it down for good.
Moreover, Federation propaganda describing the arachnids,
frankly, I find the idea of a bug that thinks offensive.
And these soldiers' attitudes towards them are similar to Nazi depictions of Jews circa World War II, designed as they were to bypass reason and stoke feelings of hatred in the viewer.
The only good bug is a dead bug.
In his essay, The Anti-Semite and the Jew, philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre
that's being said right now.
Anti-Semitism involves more than simple hatred towards Jewish people. According to him, the defining characteristic of the anti-Semite is that he loves his hatred. As
therein lies the difference, right?
Sartre puts it, it's not unusual for people to elect to live a life of passion rather than of reason. But ordinarily, they love the objects of passion. Women, glory, power, money. Since the anti-Semite has chosen hate, we're forced to conclude that it is the state of passion that he loves. The Federation cultivates this same complex emotional response within its own population, while the film does the same thing with its audience. The fact that the arachnids resemble something as inhuman and universally disliked as Earth insects makes the impulse to hate them, and in the process identify with the fascist cause, that much more appealing. Federation soldiers, or anti-arachnites if you will, willingly forgo the typical objects of passion so they can spend more time doing what they love best, hating bugs. Following the debacle on Clendathu, Sky Marshal Deans voluntarily resigns his post as leader of the Federation so that a more effective general, a better bug killer, can take his place. More to the point, when Sergeant Zim is told that he'll have to forfeit his rank in order to fight the bugs directly,
I want combat, sir.
The only way you're gonna see combat is if you bust yourself to private. Get me?
he goes ahead and does it. stripping himself of authority so that he can kill bugs face to face.
Good job, Sergeant.
Thank you, sir. That would be private, sir.
And when you get right down to it, the soldiers and mobile infantry don't seem all that broken up about Buenos Aires. If anything, they come across as weirdly happy to be in the middle of a war zone. Sartre would tell you that they are less angry at the bugs and more eager for the chance to indulge their hatred by exercising violence.
That's really what it breaks down into, right? Is they to indulge their hatred by exercising violence. That's really what we're seeing right now, man. Is you know, when you go and you see the video of the guy driving the doobie down the streets of Gaza and like crushing cars, you see that he's indulging in his hatred for the Palestinian people. And it's just kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy to see how this relates to that.
Even hungry for it.
Here's a bunch of my kids that look like they could eat bugs for lunch.
Yum, yum, yum.
So, Starship Troopers serves up fascism in a science fiction context. That in itself isn't unique. You can find militaristic and/or fascist ideologies and iconography in a lot of sci-fi societies. The Klingons in Star Trek, the First Order in Star Wars, and more recently the actual Nazis in The Man in the High Castle. What makes Starship Troopers unique is that it presents members of a fascist military force as the good guys. Verhoeven does this for a specific reason. As he himself stated in an interview, "I tried to seduce the audience into joining Starship Troopers society, but then ask, what are you really joining up for?"
Right.
In other words, Starship Troopers is more than just a straight-up action flick and more than just a typical spoof. It's an attempt to make us think and feel like fascists, and to make us think very hard about how we were seduced into that mindset. And seduced really is the operative word here. One of the ways Verhoeven draws us in is by figuratively and literally sexing things up.
Oh yeah.
In other words, the romantic drama that plays out between Johnny, Carmen, Dizzy, and the douche to end all douches, Xander,
All is fair, love and war.
is more than just a plot device. As an audience, we become invested in this story for the same reason audiences got invested in teen dramas like 90210 and Melrose Place. We want to see what the beautiful people are gonna do next.
All the beautiful
people. From the moment
people
Dizzy
shall
officially
end
establishes
deceitful.
her interest in Johnny,
Johnny, how come we never got to
Looking back
we
at
feel
me
the
on
need
TV and
to keep
magazines.
watching to find out when the two of them are gonna finally hook up. We want love to win the day. But, and here's the brilliant part, by rooting for Johnny and Dizzy to get together, we find ourselves rooting against the Arachnids because they threaten the consummation of that sweet, sweet teenage horniness.
No!
We even join the main character in hating the bugs because we can't bear the thought of these pretty humans not getting their rocks off together.
Make it 20 minutes.
Now, even without the propagandistic boning, Verhoeven presents the Federation as something you might actually want to be a part of. This society appears to have achieved racial and gender equality. There's no visible poverty, and medicine is advanced to the point where life-threatening injuries can be repaired in a few days.
You're dead!
As I say often, capitalism requires bits and pieces of socialism to keep itself alive.
In action! 4 days!
Seriously, best VA hospital in this or any other galaxy. A la Ernst Jünger, the film also offers universal human wants as part of the fascist package. Join the Federation, we're told, and you'll have fulfillment, adventure, and friends for life.
Let's make a vow. No matter what, we'll always be friends.
You know, whenever the three of us are together, I feel like things might just work out.
Hell, the UCF even appears to allow free speech, up to and including open dissent among the civilian population.
There should be a law against using a school as a recruiting station.
Hardly what you would expect from a fascist dictatorship. With all these shiny things to look at, it becomes pretty easy to forget that this whole enterprise is founded on an ideology we like to think ourselves immune to.
Naked force has resolved more issues throughout history than any other factor.
By itself, all that might be enough to get an audience unwittingly cheering on the march of an expansionist fascist regime. But Verhoeven has one more trick up his sleeve that really cements the audience's commitment. Starship Troopers borrows heavily from the work of Leni Riefenstahl and Frank Capra, the World War II filmmakers responsible for the propaganda films Triumph of the Will and Why We Fight, both of which are visually referenced in the newsreels that pop up throughout the movie. By mimicking Riefenstahl and Capra's techniques, the film also accomplishes
You know,
what
that
those original
propaganda is very similar to the IDF's YouTube channel,
Reels that pop
which
up
I
throughout
don't
the movie.
recommend
By
looking
mimicking
at.
Riefenstahl and Capra's techniques, the film also accomplishes what those original propaganda pieces were designed to achieve. Something philosopher Paul Virilio referred to as cinematic derealization. This refers to making an audience immune to the horrors of war by turning it into entertainment. He claims that when filmmakers used their craft to make attacks unreal, industrial warfare ceased to be that huge funeral apparatus denounced by moralists and eventually became the greatest mystification of all, an apparatus of deception. For some more recent examples, we can look to the Gulf War and the 2003 invasion of Iraq, both of which were covered in near real time by major news outlets, much like the Federation invasion of Clondathu. Like many war movies, Starship Troopers accomplishes derealization through exaggeration. Everything from machine guns to body counts is inflated, made so absurdly big and over the top that it's difficult to grasp as real. This disconnect between the reality of the death caused by war and the story we're told is what allows the film to act as an apparatus of deception. It numbs us, piling the bodies so high that we can't truly process what's happening or understand it as a threat. Any understanding of the real cost of war is overwhelmed by the cartoonishness of the presentation. Scholar Mark...
I think something that was said about the loss of war, or about the loss of people in such issues, is that, you know, it's a Stalin quote. One life is a tragedy. A million is a statistic. Because we don't look at the no longer quoting Stalin, but we don't look at the loss of life of a million people as something that is tragic, right? We look at it as like, oh, those are just numbers. We no longer recognize the person or the people and their names. That's kind of like why, you know, when there's a memorial or there's something that people are trying to draw attention to of a tragic loss of life en masse, they'll usually come out with the names. It is definitely a psychological thing with human beings, that we have to identify the people that have been lost in order to recognize the atrocity that has occurred.
Cartoonishness of the presentation. Scholar Mark Rosenthal argues that Starship Troopers refuses to be made to mean. That is, it cannot definitively be classified as either a satire or not a satire. Therefore, it can't really be used to either shore up or cut down fascism. The movie just is. Whenever you think Verhoeven is finally going to take a clear stance, the film undercuts itself. For instance, as the film ramps up toward the Battle of Clondathu, we might start to think we're watching a straightforward pro-military action flick. But that doesn't jibe with the way the failed invasion is filmed. The triumphant score cuts out.
Hey, what are we doing? I don't know. I don't know. Kill them! Kill them all!
Kill them all!
And the film's usual derealization of conflict gives way to a temporary hyper-realization, as we see individual humans we've come to care about torn to pieces and dragged screaming away from their friends. And just when you think you're feeling as little sympathy for the bugs as you can, the film starts showing close-ups of their faces which have disturbingly human eyes. The brain bug in particular appears designed to make you feel both disgust and pity at the same time. While the slimy skin and brain straw are pretty dang repulsive, the brain bug also has a very expressive set of eyes, along with a massive round forehead and a soft chubby body, which are physical traits that we perhaps subconsciously associate with children.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
We aren't really sure what to think, and that's exactly the point. Like the best propaganda, Starship Troopers is designed to bypass rationality and make you feel something. And feel we do. We get caught up in the romance,
the
action, and the adventure.
Oh no, my leg.
All without fully stopping to analyze what it is we're doing when we align ourselves with people who, by their own admission, fully intend to carry out a genocide.
It's afraid. It's afraid!
The film doesn't push us in any particular way. Instead, it seduces us with the repeated question,
would you like to know more? Would you like to know more? Would you like to know more?
If Verhoeven's done his job, the answer is...
Yes, sir!
But before you go, if you value your security and secrecy on the internet, then I really recommend this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN.
Hey, get out of here.
ExpressVPN at the office, country,
I don't get paid for this.
Into public.
Very good video from Wisecrack from 5 years ago. 2019 was 5 years ago. Oh my god! Oh no, they did. What's this?
We gotta get back to the bird. Lopez got popped. It's the lad crippled hospital making charity on my ass. Want some?
I love this movie.
Get some. Hey, yo, Fats. Eyes ain't falling.
Don't count him out. That bastard's got blood tattooed to his ace.
Come on, get out. What am I looking at? What is this?
I'm on the skid. Let's go. Come on, elevator up. Up.
It's Four-Leaf.
Oh no, Four-Leaf. That's a lot of bugs. Oh, the shuttle's inbound. The shuttle's inbound. He's got 1 minute to make it. Bro, what are you doing? He's dead. Helldivers in 60 seconds.
In Helldivers 2, you'll join the infamous Helldivers, crack squads of specially trained human soldiers who are deployed to some of the most intense combat situations in the known galaxy. As Super Earth's last line of defense, you'll...
So, this game is like popping off right now, because one, it's kind of fun. Two, it's essentially just Starship Troopers, the video game, but good. So they do a lot of like quirky things in the game. Like if you have a machine gun that shoots like 300 bullets, while you're shooting it, like the guy will start screaming and be like, "Ah, for democracy!" and like, you know, just kind of like silly stuff like that. Also, there's a lot of propaganda in the game that is done on purpose. The game is very self-aware of its stance on kind of the fascism of the military.
You'll find yourself
definitely
the vicious bugs, mechanized cyborgs, and
I mean the bugs definitely goes along with the theme of Starship Troopers.
if fans are lucky, the highly advanced Illuminate. But as any good soldier knows, you'll soon be dead without your squad mates. Of course, if you and your pals aren't careful on the friendly fire front, they may actually end up being the greatest threat. And if you're hoping for
Yeah, and that's the other thing is like you can get murdered by your own teammates. They can literally just shoot you, but also as you call in bombings like this, from overhead, you can either call in like orbital bombings, or you can have your like fighter jets fly by and do bombings, and if your teammate is in the way, they will die. So there's a lot of friendly fire. There's no way to turn off friendly fire, so it's a little ironic, but also intentional that you can kill your own teammates.
Again, every last thing on every planet you visit wants nothing more than to see you and your fellow Helldivers dead. Understanding each unique enemy and learning their
We're just
weaknesses
delivering
is paramount
democracy,
if you want
man.
to succeed.
That's all it
Failure
is.
to do so may result in you being vaporized, liquefied, or worse. So do everything you can and fight relentlessly for freedom, peace, and democracy. Have you played Helldivers 2 yet?
For freedom! Yeah. We are delivering freedom to those that are in need of
on today's
of freedom.
episode
Hey,
of
you need to chill out, sir. Whoa, where'd that go? Mad Max. Stop it. But yeah. I thought this was
on today's
cool.
episode of What's Going On with Shipping.
Get out of here. Alright, I cut him off. Sal gives an update on the RubyMar Sinking to the bottom of the Red Sea. Now, I don't remember where the penguins are from. I think they're from Madagascar, right? But the penguins are going to spread democracy themselves.
Captain's log. Embarking into hostile environment. Walking. We'll need to win the hearts and the minds of the natives. Rico, we'll need special tactical equipment. We're gonna face extreme peril. Private probably won't survive. Okay, boys, launch! Okay, boys, we're going in hot. Now I'd like...
Oh man, I got hit with a commercial. Oh, it's been 1 hour. Wow.
Show off, Private. Status.
It's no good, Skipper.
Yeah, so in the game you have to enter like these like Tekken move codes into everything. It's funny because like they make it so primitive in what should be advanced military warfare, where you should just be like, you know, select your thing that you want to do and it comes in. Instead you have to like a quarterback in a football game, pop your thing open and then start punching in the directions. These same moves, you can see the soldier over here on the left side, but these same moves have to be entered in anytime you want to revive a teammate that's been murdered, either by yourself or by the landscape. And you so in the middle of you trying to fight everything, you're trying to enter in all these codes. It's really annoying, but I guess it just adds to the aspect of the game.
I don't know the codes. Don't give me excuses. Give
I don't know the codes.
All right, let me see. And shut him up.
I did it.
Nuke.
You pillar fight like a bunch of little girls. And there is no sacrifice
This dude right
greater
here.
than someone else.
Only 2 passengers.
There's no greater sacrifice than someone else.
Counted for, Skipper.
That's a number I can live with. Good landing, boys. Who says a penguin can't fly?
Good stuff. Good stuff. Space King. I don't even know what the hell this is.